Hey, what's up guys? So last time we finished with the header.php, I said we were going to continue on with creating this login modal. So what is the login modal? Let's take a look real quick. In this example, when you click it, you can see this modal prop up, and this is just a bootstrap feature. You can just research modals and you'll see this is how it works. So in this tutorial, all we're going to want to do is create this login modal. We may get to the point of creating a login controller in this tutorial, but definitely, in later tutorials, we're going to create the model view and the controller. And why do we need that? Since it's already right here, well, you got to be able to process the information, the login request, what happens after you click login. So this may be a 2 or 3 part tutorial, but we'll see as time progresses. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Currently there's nothing that happens. Let's take a look at what this looks like. So whenever you click on the login button, it doesn't go anywhere, but it does call this login modal. So we're pretty much going to have to create that and include that in every single page that we need this in. So what are we going to do? Well, we have to include this login modal every time this header loads. So that means on every single page, on every controller, we're going to have to include it. So how will we do that? First of all, let's take a look at which controllers we've already done. Looks like the main controller is the only one that we've done so far. So to the header, we're going to pass some data. What data? Well, we're going to have to pass that login modal. The reason why we want to pass the login modal externally instead of just including it into the header file is because of the error checking, and we want to be able to move that away from the header and to a login view specifically. So, it's like, hey, if there are any errors, go ahead and do this, blah, 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 blah. This may just get a little bit too messy. So let's go ahead and do that right now. The first thing we're going to need is basically a new view. So we're going to call that view the login view. So within the login view, I've already written this code out, so let's just go ahead and paste it. This is the login modal. There's that ID that the header calls right there. So the login modal. And what it contains is, it's going to check to see if there are any errors, which we're going to pass through our controller. If there are, it's going to say we couldn't log you in, otherwise log into your account. And this is that header basically that gets replaced if there are errors. Otherwise, it's just a basic form that calls the login controller, which we haven't created yet. And at the bottom there are 2 links. One is to register and one is for forgot password. The next thing that we're going to want to do at the very bottom right here, all I did, this is set display login. This gets passed if we're on the login page, so instead of the person being on a blank page, it automatically calls the login modal to show. Otherwise, if there are any errors, we also want to go ahead and display the login modal so that the errors can be displayed within that modal. And that's pretty much it for the creation of the modal. It's pretty self-explanatory. Now, how do we include it? Well, all we're going to want to do is pass to the header that view. So actually in CodeIgniter, you can do something like this, where you can store the entire view within a variable. And it's very simple, almost identical to the way you would normally load a view. You would just say load view, login view. We're not going to pass any data to it, and we're going to pass this true argument so that it says, hey, don't display anything, just put it inside this data login. Next, we go to our header, and at the bottom we can just say PHP echo login. And that's it. So now every time you call a controller, you are going to have to pass this login view and you're good to go. So let's see what that looks like. See if it worked. Login. Okay. So there it is right there. We are going to have to add some CSS to it. That's coming up right now. So let's open up our style sheet and I'll go ahead and copy my pre-made login style sheet. Again, I grabbed this information from Bootsnip, modified it to my liking, and we're good to go. Let's see if it worked. There it is. So everything's formatted correctly. I have to open it up in incognito just because of Chrome. The next thing that we're going to want to do is, just start off at least the controller. We'll do the model in a different tutorial, but for right now, let's just go ahead and basically get the logic for the controller. So we're going to create a controller called the login, and we'll just initialize it with the same method, which is public function index. Within that method, first thing we're going to want to do is check to see if the user is already logged in. If so, redirect them to the admitted page. Otherwise, the next thing that can happen is the user could have pressed the login button. So check if user pressed the login button. And we're going to attempt to log her into the account. Right here, this is where you'll also do your checks and return any errors. The next portion, finally at the bottom, is we're going to also want to display the login page. I usually start at the bottom, and we got to pass the standard stuff to the views that we're going to be loading. This is that display login that I was telling you about, where I actually showed you right there. So because this is going to be the login page, we're always going to want to display the modal. Let's go ahead and just set that to true, and we're also going to do data login is equal to this load view login view, and we're actually going to pass some data to it this time, and we'll pass true. Last but not least, we're going to load our header and footer. So we're going to pass data to it, and this load view footer. Now we're also going to want to create that login page. I'll just go ahead and initialize it right here. I think we'll just call it login page view. Within the login page view, I guess the first thing to do is to create the login page view. So let's go ahead and do that. Once we have the login page view created, really this is really simple right here. All it is just a container and a row just to span everything out via Bootstrap. Then I created an additional div with a login page ID, and that's just for the style sheet. So let's take a look at what that looks like. We'll just go to the bottom of this, and inside our login page, we're just gonna just some basic styling right here to make it look a little bit nicer. We're gonna display the block, set a width, height, center the text in the middle, background colors, margins, etc., etc. And we're also going to strip the decoration, and because the background color is dark, we're going to make the text within it white. Going back to the login page view, all it says within here is log into your account. That's literally it. If the user clicks out of it, all it does is just allows them to click back into seeing that modal. Let's take a look and see. I believe that should be it. Let's open up that. Okay, so currently we're on the login page, and if we click out of it, you can see it's just allows you to click on that just in case you exit out of it. In the next tutorial, what we're going to want to do is we're going to actually create the logic, and we're going to create, you know, the rest of this right here, as well as the login modal to log the user in and log the user out as well, because they should be able to get out at any point.